It's been over 60 years since the U-2 spy plane first took to the skies, but the aircraft continues to play a vital role in modern-day surveillance missions. Originally designed for intelligence gathering during the Cold War, the U-2 has extensive upgrades and modifications to maintain its relevance in the ever-evolving landscape of global security. However, as experts could take on rise between nations and military strategies are re-evaluated, some are questioning whether the U-2 could a new role, that of a Navy killer. This proposition may seem far-fetched, but with its advanced capabilities and adaptability, the U-2 may just prove to be the perfect weapon for a new era of warfare at sea. Lockheed proposes arming its high-flying U-2 spy plane with experimental long-range anti-ship missiles that could make it a terror at sea. During the last years of the Cold War, Lockheed proposed equipping their high-flying U-2 spy plane with experimental long-range anti-ship missiles that would make it a terror at sea. If this concept is combined with U.S. efforts to deploy the U-2 on aircraft carriers, it could provide the U.S. Navy with a killer ship killer with long range and great range. Even further away. When the U-2 first entered service in 1955, it provided an amazing leap forward in American reconnaissance capabilities. Designed and built by Kelly Johnson's legendary team at Lockheed's Skunk Works in less than a year, the U-2 is capable of flying at more than 70,000 feet, far beyond the reach of even rockets or missiles. The most advanced Soviet fighter. Day. But it's not just the incredible altitude that makes the U-2 so special. In an era where aerial refueling has only recently become commonplace for fighter operations, the original design of the U-2 could cover 3,000 miles without the need for a refueling aircraft, giving it incredible range and durability for covert operations on enemy territory. The original camera mounted in the U-2's payload bay could capture images with a resolution of just 2.5 feet from 60,000 feet, but since then, the U-2 has seen a host of updated equipment placed in its fuselage, from the most powerful optical sensors in the U.S. arsenal to some of the first vision data link systems. But with all the high-tech equipment inside the U-2 spy plane, one thing the plane has never carried is a missile, but Lockheed has a plan to change that. Lockheed is looking to sell more U-2. Earlier this month, we reported on the diverse U.S. efforts to deploy U-2s on U.S. Navy aircraft carriers as part of an effort to eliminate the CIA's reliance on airstrips. Foreign pilots successfully landed and took off from Navy flattops with several U-2 iterations under both the CIA and Navy programs, but ultimately neither organization found real value. Economy in difficult activities. One element of that story that was left on the cutting room floor during the initial editing was Lockheed's attempt to find a good reason to ramp up production of the U-2 and sell Uncle Sam more Dragon Ladies. Fly as high as the taxpayer allows. In total, Lockheed built and sold about 104 U-2 spy planes from 1955 to the end of the latest production run in 1989, but the company knew it could significantly increase that number if it could find another good use for the unusual platform. By the late 1970s, Lockheed was no longer considered one of the world's best defense contractors as it once was and will be in the future. A series of financial scandals, bad business decisions and terrible press put the company's future in jeopardy. In 1971, Lockheed was forced to accept a loss of $200 million, about $1.3 billion in 2021 dollars, due to cost overruns and a contract dispute with the Pentagon. That same year, one of Lockheed's main commercial engine suppliers, Rolls-Royce Limited, filed for bankruptcy and the company was again forced to approach the U.S. government for a $250 million loan to stay active. By the end of the decade, Lockheed's value had fallen to sixth place on the list of U.S. defense contractors, lagging behind competitors like General Dynamics, following its success with the F-16, and McDonnell Douglas, who is piloting their own fighter jet program, the F-15 Eagle. Lockheed needed a win, and although they had some programs in development, the U-2 was a proven device with existing production cables. And while it's incredibly difficult to fly, there's good reason to look for ways to expand its uses. Some might think that the downing of Gary Power's U-2 in the Soviet Union in 1960 would mark the end of the plane. After all, it was designed to fly especially high to operate out of reach of Soviet air defenses, but the U-2's scalability as a long-range reconnaissance platform was too powerful to ignore, even as the faster and taller, the State Route 71 aircraft entered service and the protective features came of age. If they can convince the U.S. Navy to buy into the U-2 program, that could mean a pretty quick revenue stream the company desperately needs. Equip missiles for U-2 to hunt ships. Although Lockheed couldn't convince the Navy to operate a version of the U-2 equipped with carrier-based sensors for maritime surveillance, it still has one more screen in stock. When U-2 designer Kelly Johnson first approached the United States Air Force with the CL-282 design culminating in the U-2, he was nothing but the legendary commander of Strategic Air Command, Curtis LeMay. Laid off outright. According to reports, LeMay told Lockheed he wasn't interested in a flying car with no wheels or guns. Lockheed hovered over that quote, and while they didn't change the landing gear or add any guns to the U-2, they did perform a missile raid. Named Design 315B, this new version of the U-2 will come with a second crew station, unlike the two-seat U-2 trainer that Lockheed has already produced. The second crew member would serve as a sort of radar interceptor, unlike the backseat in active Navy fighters of the time like the F-14 Tomcat. The 315B U-2 will be armed with the new AGM-53 Condor long-range air-to-surface missile and tested to strike enemy warships at ranges of up to 60 miles. The Condor missile uses an electro-optical guidance system with data linking back to the aircraft, allowing the extra crew member to literally guide the weapon at the target via remote control. Missiles can also be locked to a target using this system, freeing up the crew on board the U-2 to begin searching for other ship tournaments. Finally, the Condor missile is expected to carry both conventional and nuclear warheads, which would make the U-2 a potential nuclear strike aircraft if the 315B design and the Condor missile were to materialize. Unfortunately for Lockheed and for Condor's designer, Rockwell, neither attempt was able to bring it to production. Missiles for U-2 turned out to be stupid. The AGM-53 Condor rocket encountered many problems and failures throughout its development in the second half of 1960, from the unreliable development system to the skyrocketing cost of creating a link-capable data for weapons. Furthermore, the missile's relatively small warhead makes its exorbitant price, largely due to Moneygate data link technology, seem downright absurd. Although the original order for 250 missiles was to be delivered in 1976, the program was cancelled that year before any rockets could be implemented. Like the missiles that would arm it, the proposed Lockheed 315B U-2 would never enter the U.S. Navy. However, Lockheed would once again take the lead in military aviation just a few years later, when the world's first operational stealth aircraft, the F-117 Nighthawk, began its test flight. The U-2 spy plane will continue to find valuable applications for the U.S. Air Force throughout the 21st century. Today, there are more than 30 U-2s in service with more diverse roles. Some are even used as nodes in purely data links between the most advanced fighters the U.S. has to offer, the F-22 Raptor and the F-35 Joint Strike Fighter, both from the same stable Lockheed Skunk Works as the U-2 did for itself decades ago. While the idea of the U-2 spy plane as a naval assassin may be appealing, it remains to be seen whether the aircraft can actually serve in this role. The U-2 has proven to be a highly effective intelligence gathering tool, but its use as an offensive weapon would require significant modifications and investments. In addition, the Navy's killer role has been played by a wide range of existing weapons systems, such as submarines and anti-ship missiles. However, the U-2's continued relevance in modern-day surveillance missions and its potential for innovation and future adaptation remains a topic of great interest in the community. Military and defense.